Teresa was reported missing very quickly. It was just really a couple of days. He wanted to get rid of her car. Of course, she's not going to leave the car on the property. If you murder someone quickly, you now know that a lot of evidence you have to deal with. You've got to deal with the body. You know, this is what gets into the burn pit, going back and forth on that first night. You have to hide her car. Where are you going to put her car? What are you going to do with her car? You've got a car crusher. You need to prep the car to be crushed. He didn't even have time. He just simply ran out of time. And I believe that after hiding her car, he was going to actually go back and try to crush it. That's why he took her key with him. And I think that that's exactly what he was going to do, but he just ran out of time. That's one theory that I personally have. You never know what somebody's doing in the moment after they kill someone. You can only imagine their adrenaline, all the things that can be happening. But people instead want to believe that the police got into his trailer and dropped the key. And I just don't see what the upside would have been for the police officers to do that. He wanted time. He ran out of time, obviously.
He wanted time. He ran out of time, obviously. Obviously, Stephen Avery had no need to run out of time, and for what, Candace? She was reported missing very quickly. It was really a couple of days. Okay, what does that have to do with Stephen Avery? He wanted to get rid of the car. Which of the car did Stephen Avery want to get rid of, Candace? The one Teresa Marie Hall box 1999 6P3 Deep Joe Green single-tone Toyota RAV4. She arrived to her appointment at 1427 31st October 2005 and was taken into impound at Undersheriff Robert Herman's Cleveland Auto Salvage on the 3rd of November 2005? Or 2, the car that Pam and Nicole Strum found, which was a Toyota K95 two-tone RAV4. 3, the car that Manawak County Detective Remaker identified by retrieving a registration from inside the car that his registered to a 1998 760 Mystic Teal Mica single-tone RAV4, or 4. The bin Manawak County Detective Remaker identified the K95 RAV4 bin by reading all but the first 2 numbers on the detached, bent, and not in factory condition bin plate, which describes a 1999 760 single-tone RAV4 on Avery's Auto Salvage on the 5th of November. You got one of 4 vehicles, one of which is only a paper tiger. Stephen Avery's motivation to get rid of the car, Candace? Of course, she's not going to leave the car on the property. Of course, she's not going to leave her 6P3 RAV4 on the property. If you murder someone quickly, you know that a lot of energy have to deal with. You've got to deal with the body. You know this is what gets into the burn pit, going back and forth on the first night. 31st October 2005, 14:37 hours, Teresa arrives. 8 minutes later at 14:45, Bobby leaves to go to hunting. Stephen Avery sees Teresa turn west on Highway 147 from his kitchen window. 2, Stephen goes to speak to Bobby, but his truck is gone. 3, Dolores visits Stephen, brings the mail. They sit in a golf cart and talk. 10 minutes later, at 15:45, Blaine and Brendan get home. 58 minutes after, Teresa, 64:30, 16 hours sunset. 2 minutes later, 16:45, Earl and Robert Fabian drop by Steve's. 5 minutes later, at 16:50, Stephen talks to Jody's attorney. 5 minutes later, at 1700 hours, Stephen eats dinner at his mom's. Barb, Janda, Brian, and Bobby get home. 15 minutes later, at 1750 hours, Scott arrives to pick up Barb and states that he sees Stephen outside with Barb and one of the boys and sees a bonfire. 5 minutes later, at 1720 hours, Blaine is picked up by Jason's mother, Carmen. Earl and Robert return from hunting and pick up, park at Stephen's trailer. Robert testifies he smelled burning plastic. 10 minutes later, 17:30, Brendan calls one of his friends. 6 minutes later, 17:30, 6 hours, Jody calls from jail. 11 minutes later, 17:57 hours, Steve calls Chuck. 3 minutes later, 1800 hours, Steve goes home. 33 minutes later, at 18:34 hours, Brian leaves, says he sees smoke behind Stephen's garage. Half hour later, at 1900 hours, Stephen calls Brendan, invites him over. 10 minutes later, 1910 hours, Brendan goes to Steve's for the bonfire. 5 minutes later, at 1915, Brendan and Steve pick up garbage and wood with the golf cart. 15 minutes later, at 1930, Brendan and Stephen clean the garage. 15 minutes later, at 1945, Scott and Barb return home to the Janda home. 53 minutes later, 20:39 hours, 100 hours, Stephen calls Tom Janda. 18 minutes later, at 20:57 hours, Jody calls Steve from jail. 3 minutes later, at 2100 hours, Barb calls Steve. 20 minutes later, at 21:20, Steve calls Barb's house. 10 minutes later, at 21:30, Bobby leaves for work, sees a bonfire. 10 minutes later, at 21:30, Blaine arrives home. Half hour later, at 2200 hours, Brendan gets home from the bonfire. Half hour later, at 2200 hours, Brendan gets home. 20 minutes later, at 22:20 hours, Brendan answers a call at home from Barb. According to Brendan Dassey's statement, Teresa Mihalbach's body was rolled into the pit. Okay, if she's dismembered, how can he see her stomach? So, people, between Candace Owens' description of the event, her car, her keys, her everything, it's just her. Just her. Brendan said that they took Teresa to the burn pit in one piece. You have to hide her car. Avery's Auto Salvage RAV4 that has 5 major description differences that invalidates the claim. Where are you going to put her car? Lakeshore Aviation pilot Kurt Drum, Jerry Pago, Wendy Baldwin fly over and did not detect Teresa's 6P3 or Pam and Nicole's K95 or Remaker's 99 or Pago's 98 RAV4. What are you going to do with her car? Okay, what are you going to do with her car? You don't know which her car you're talking about. You've got a car crusher, you need to prep the K95 Toyota RAV4 provable Matt Teresa and Rehalbach 6P3 to be crushed. See, they didn't have time, just simply ran out of time, and I believe that. After hiding Pam and Nicole's K95, where he was going to actually go back and try to crush it. Oh, that was hiding. Putting that in the back and putting just a few things on it and a hood next to it is hiding it? That's not hiding it. That's making it stand out even more. Hey, look at me. I'm the only one that's got this shit up against it. And that's why it took her car key with him. Okay. Actually, the key that you're talking about fits the dash of another Toyota RAV4 K95 delivered to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab that does not have a hole in the left roof strut, and there's no picture of any identification marks on that vehicle inside the Wisconsin State Crime whatsoever. So it's just a picture of a vehicle with no identification marks, no identification in the photos at all. Thus, it cannot be considered Teresa Marie Halbach's vehicle. It has not been identified as Teresa Marie Halbach's vehicle. It's just been said to be. I think that's exactly what he was going to do, but he ran out of time. That's one theory, but I personally have. You ever know what somebody's going to do in the moment after they kill someone? You can only imagine their adrenaline and all those things that can be happening, but people instead want to believe that the police got into his trailer and dropped the key. It doesn't take 7 searches unless you are looking for something that is supposed to be there but isn't, eliminating the police as the motivation of planting the key. I just don't see what the upside would have been for the police officers to do that. The police officers didn't do that. Somebody else was supposed to do that, and they failed 6 times. They made it on the 7th. To supply the Wisconsin State Crime Lab Shelby Cohane to plant Stephen Avery's DNA or blood, catching the actors in the framing of Stephen Avery by members of the Manitowoc County Sheriff's counter-sting operation not to frame Stephen Avery, Candace. Now, between myself and Candace, who has the better understanding of the situation of which is the subject matter? Candace is a babe in the woods. She's out of her element. She's out of her league. She is out there, Jack. Okay? And she has no clue whatsoever. She's just there to pitch. She has no clue what she's pitching. You see? Now, it's easy not to go into the RAV4 by just saying her car. That just eliminated everything. It's Teresa's car. It's Teresa's car. Okay? With nothing. No specifics whatsoever. Nothing. Leave that out. Okay. The police planting the key. The police ain't in there planting the key. It doesn't take 7 searches to go plant the key. It takes 7 searches. It takes the 7th search to go find the key that we were supposed to find on the first search. Okay? It doesn't take Pam and Nicole to go into the yard on ground troops when you fly over and it's not there. Candace, yeah. You do not have any clue whatsoever. And then we got Officer Tatum, Brandon. Okay, Teresa's vehicle. I'll agree with you anything. Oh, well, they have to go to search for very specific things. The third pleat in the toilet roll, and you have to write that down. Exact size, dimensions, the whole bit, number on the roll, in order for you to go find it. But there's Teresa's key sitting right there going, I'm Teresa's key written on it. And you don't find it unless you write down, well, we have to go find the key in the back of the bookcase, you know. So they have to go straight there. Brendan, what are you doing? Why are you falling for this, Brandon? Huh? Officer Tatum? Why don't you take my work and go check me out? And then let Candace know that, Candace, yeah, we want to redo that interview. Yeah, I got some interesting information for you, okay? So why don't Brendan, Officer Tatum, dude, after reading all this off, you have homework. You need to bring Candace Owens up to speed. Failure of which will fail Candace Owens. And she will not be happy with you. She's making a complete fool and ass of herself all over TV. You're all over everywhere. Her podcast. And you're there ignorant. And you're just nodding your head with her because you don't know either. You got two boobs sitting there talking about what they don't know. They don't have a clue. And that's what you have. So, Candace Owens, Brandon Tatum, yeah, you two just made a fool out of yourself. A total and complete fool out of yourself. You just told everybody in the whole world, I have no clue what I'm talking about. But I'm talking. Okay, because we need to bring these ratings up. We need to push this. And it's not going according to plan. It's not going according to plan. It's a little bit fumbling out. Because people are just, they're all taken back by what? Now, it's going to fizzle out. And it's going to make a whole bunch of people start digging in. And here I am. So, Officer Tatum, you want to clue Candace in on the real story? Yeah, I'd like to see that. Why don't you go back on her show and say, hey, Richard Boyd over here just blew you out of the water. Okay? Just steamrolled you right over with pertinent, accurate, on the money, precision language. I got tone. Okay? Yeah. F-14. I got tone. How can you get more precise than that? More precise than that. Well, work all this. Work the kidnapping. Work the struggling getting her in. The struggling getting her into the bedroom. She can be ripping off stuff. Siding. She's going to be grabbing hold of the molding and pulling that up. That's going to be ripped out. There's going to be claw marks and stuff. It doesn't go easily, Into the bedroom. Tie her all up. Do all this stuff. Go outside, collect the mail. Sit there, talk with Mom, Then they get done, leave everything, and there's nothing there. There's nothing that indicates that she was in the bedroom whatsoever. Nothing. Same as the garage. Same outfit. Officer Tatum. Now you fit all that within the time frame of everything I just said. How convoluted to the point of absolutely ridiculous, and you are embarrassed to have believed it in the first place, does this have to go? People.